Berlin with three key individuals all discussing a very, very important campaign that we are all getting behind and we all do need to get behind, called FAIRMILES. And the reason that they're FRUIT LOGISTICA was that they were involved in a big presentation this morning. So I'm just going to bring all the team in. Oh, here we go. I'm doing this all the wrong way around. Just bear with me with the tech. Here we go. So let's go first for James. Who are you? Who are you representing in respect to FAIRMILES, please?
Hello, James McGregor. I'm here representing the FAIRMILES consortium at FRUIT LOGISTICA. We've been doing some research and we'll talk about that a bit later, but we're seeing 5 million people associated with fresh produce trade in Africa. We're very keen to expand that.
Excellent. James, thank you. Over to our tour guide, Simon. Simon Derrick. Simon, say who you are and who you're representing, please.
Hi there, Max. So my name's Simon Derrick. I'm Head of Sustainability at Blue Skies here, also representing the FAIRMILES group to talk about how we can achieve net zero without impacting the vulnerable communities that rely on air freight.
Excellent. And he's been a great tour guide. He's taken us past China earlier. And if you saw that, everyone, he just went past Zimbabwe. Jeremy, who are you and who are you representing, please?
Hi, Max. So my name's Jeremy Knox. I'm Managing Director of Co-Lead, Committee Linking Entrepreneurship, Agriculture and Development. It's a private sector membership-based organisation, not-for-profit, representing producers, process exporters from the global south and importers in the EU, mainly of fruit and veg products.
Brilliant, Jeremy. Thank you. So, team, you did this major presentation this morning. What was the reasoning behind that? Simon, you go first, please.
Yeah, so we were invited to come and speak at FRUIT LOGISTICA here to talk about FAIRMILES. It's something we're obviously very passionate about, is ensuring that we have a more balanced debate when it comes to air freighted fresh produce. Quite often, or so often, seen as bad. Flying fresh produce to market. Should we be doing that? And our answer to that is yes, of course we should be doing that, because it's providing a vital link to trade for many countries around the world, particularly from a Blue Skies perspective, the countries that we're in, namely in Ghana, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Benin, South Africa, Egypt. And yeah, we want to make sure that actually we're not making bad decisions when it comes to where we're getting our fresh produce from, that we are sort of thinking about, yes, the environmental picture, but also ensuring that the social and economic factors, that we're looking after people ultimately too. So it's about climate justice, and we wanted to get that message out in our presentation this morning.
Simon, well done. James, can you just give a bit of background on yourself, because you've been involved in a similar, let's call it, movement previously. So you got experience in this, in that you got skin in the game. Please explain.
Yeah, so 17 years ago, there was a similar movement where there was a push to reduce air freight of fresh produce from Africa and other countries around the world, based around the concept of food miles, which I was part of a consortium then that looked at the research around this and found that it was a win-win to reduce carbon emissions, to increase efficiency, to employ people, and to support supply chains with some of the poorest people and communities in the world, but also some of the best farmers in the world. Across the supply chain, this was a good thing, and back then it became government policy and policy for the vast majority of the supermarkets in the UK and Europe. This has now come back again with the net zero pledges from the UK government and from other governments across Europe and around the world, which are being interpreted in various ways. We do have a dearth of information and data on this, but when we look at the science and we look at the evidence, there is a clear win-win. Air freight of fresh produce from Africa reduces carbon emissions in the European, for instance, the European winter season, and it employs and supports the livelihoods of a minimum of 5 million and quite possibly at least double that number of livelihoods across Africa and obviously other regions of the world. So we want this conversation to be grown up and based on evidence, and not sort of simplistic knee-jerk reactions that can imperil these supply chains and obviously these millions of livelihoods around the world.
James, well done. And I love your expression near the end of that where you said we need grown-up thinking. And I suppose in some ways that's why we need organisations like yours, Jeremy, to assist us to get behind us. Well, would you agree with me, Jeremy? Is that why you and your organisation are looking to support FAIRMILES?
Yes, clearly. I mean, our raison d'être as an organisation is to make sure that we provide large-scale support so that the agri-food sector in the global south fully contributes to SDGs. As you know, SDGs is not only about environmental protection, it's also about poverty reduction and food security. And in that sense, for us as an organisation, supporting market access has been a core focus of our work now for over 20 years, food technical assistance, and part of that market access, of course, to support to access complex markets such as the UK and the EU. And we feel it's simply so wrong, basically, to today have some decisions that could jeopardize all the advances that have been made in these value chains, all the positives that it has been bringing, and have basically producers who are the less responsible for basically the environmental and climate change situation we're in. They're the first ones to suffer from this situation. Let's not forget about it. And through a decision such as reducing air freighted produce coming into our markets, we feel it's wrong. It's not the right lever point to drive a structural change in agri-food systems, and especially not in the global south.
Jeremy, thank you, everyone. It feels to me that when you look at it from afar, there was a lot of naivety from UK government and governments internationally to go down this route. And you just have to look at what's happened in UK politics in the last 24 hours with the Labour Party retracting from some of their green pledges, that they've suddenly woken up to the fact that actually this is going to be very difficult to implement. So is now the time on a professional lobbying basis for the likes of the FAIRMILES organisation to show some of these governments, some of these larger organisations, perhaps the error of their ways, in that if we can re-educate them as to the importance of air freight and the good that it can do in countries like Africa, that there will be a positive outcome from this. Simon, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, completely agree, Matt. So I think that's essentially what we're looking to do. It's about conducting more research to get more information about the impacts, because at the moment we hear a lot about the impacts of carbon emissions. As I said, they're important, but we don't hear so much about the impacts on people, particularly how people are dependent and benefit from different trade channels into different markets. And I think that's the story that we're looking to tell, whether it's to politicians or to retail buyers who are making decisions, policymakers, or the general public, the consumers who want to just do the right thing, but we're not giving them necessarily the information at the moment to be able to do that. So what we want to do is we want to, as I said, to provide that, conduct that research and to raise awareness through our connections, through the various different stakeholders we're in touch with, and through the media as well, which is why we're very grateful to you, Max, for giving us this opportunity to tell this story.
Thank you. Everyone, did you see that Simon just went past Ghana? He's doing this world tour. That's great. James, with you having done this previously, as you explained, is there anything that you learned from the first time round that we can learn this time round as to how we can get people more engaged, whether that be from within the trade or externally, or from within government?
Yeah, I think it's communication is really key on this issue. How we communicate the benefits, how we use our strap lines, and ultimately, what does it really mean for these companies? We have different incentives, different trade-offs depending on the countries you're in, the part of the supply chain, and ultimately the value that you add and the competition around that. So we are very aware that it's complex, but ultimately we're talking about win-wins here. And because something doesn't appear to be a good idea from a reduction of carbon point of view, such as air freight, rather than growing in hot houses, growing products in hot houses and glass houses in the UK and Northern Europe. The reality of the science behind all of this proves otherwise. And ultimately, we're looking at how do we get the research together, get the numbers together to help the industry make those decisions based on evidence. Right now, there are no guidelines or limited guidelines for decision makers in supermarkets, for instance, and other retailers, large companies. So better guidelines which allow science and data to drive the decisions would be excellent. This is what worked last time. And we're very keen to see it work today in a much more digitized and connected data space.
Excellent, James. Thank you, Jeremy. With your organisation, it's great to have the support of yourself. I'm going to call you a professional in what you do and looking to create some influence. If I got one negative about the fresh produce sector internationally, sometimes we're not the best at collaborating. But I think we have all learned that, especially over the last 3-4 years of here comes the dreaded word pandemic, that we need to collaborate more. What's your advice, Jeremy, as to how we can get businesses in UK, Europe, globally behind Fair Miles? How can we get these businesses to collaborate with us, please?
I think the word you used there is absolutely key. This collaboration, and James referred to the win-win or the triple win situations that we can get out of this. Now, of course, everybody talks about partnerships and collaboration. At the end of the day, it remains something quite complex because we're all extremely busy and taken by our day-to-day individual activities, and obviously it's sometimes easier to work in silos rather than fully integrating holistic and complex pictures. But communication, number one, is key. We need to rebuild some trust. We need to get those people to connect with each other. This is about human connections above everything else. I mean, it's about people building trust between each other, understanding that we all have something to win. There's an overall need, and I think we all recognize it, to move to new, progressively, to of course structurally move to new systems, new agri-food systems. But this has to be done by giving time, resources, on the technical side or on the financial side, and not trying to antagonize and from a geographical perspective or even from operators throughout the value chain. It's only by working together that we'll enable that. And for that, we need to create the conditions and the space for this dialogue to take place. And it's going to take time. And I think we need to recognize it as well and accept and be humble in light of the complexity here in front of us. But it is possible.
Jeremy, well done. Okay, gents, just to wrap up, because I don't want to hold you up any longer in your busy schedules. What does success look like for Fair Miles, and what do you want from everyone dialed in, whether it be from the trade or externally listening in? What does success look like, and what do you need for this to be successful? Simon, you go first.
Yeah, well, I think what we'd like to see is there being a more balanced public debate. So we would like to see, in the media, the benefits of what we're doing highlighted, and not just the emphasis always to be on the assumption that air freight is bad. So ultimately, what we would really like to see is the politicians and the retailers coming out publicly, as they did sort of 16 years ago when we had the first version of Fair Miles, when the message was support support the producers in Africa, in South America, in different parts of the world where we are engaging in this trade, and that's the message, and we want to see it. We want to see it more often. That message made.
Excellent, James. What does success look like for you, please?
So net zero is important, and it is being legislated for in many countries. So this is coming to every company, and everyone needs to reassess their risks and opportunities around this issue. We would like to end up in a situation where the evidence around this is widely shared, and those companies can make their decisions based on evidence and a clear understanding that air freight of fresh produce from developing countries should be seen as part of their net zero strategy. This is a win-win. This is something that they should feel proud of, and the retailers and other parts of the supply chain should be encouraging their consumers to be proud of this trade as well.
James, well done. Jeremy, wrap up for us. What does success look like for you, please?
I fully support, of course, what Simon and James have just said, and I'll summarise by success. What success would look like for us would be kind of a more general acknowledgement and understanding that sustainability is about 3 pillars: social, economic, environmental, and it has to work for everybody on these 3 fronts.
Yeah. Well done. Well done, everyone. Look at the post that you're viewing this on to see the FAIRMILES website and to see further how to get to engage. Gentlemen, have a great rest of the show. I've got to ask, I'm asking this with all the other people that we dialed into. How many steps did you do yesterday? You need to beat 31,000 steps from one of our participants earlier. James, how many steps did you do yesterday? Do you know?
About 11,000.
Oh, Simon.
Probably about the same.
Jeremy, come on, you beat them. Come on.
Yeah. 13.
Hey, well done. FAIRMILES, way to go. Look at the website, support them, collaborate with them. It is so important, this initiative, for all the reasons that you'll see when you look at the website.